Waylon Isaac
is now joining.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Bev Reynolds. I don't know how many we have on the call yet, if we need to wait another minute.
I would say a few minutes, Bev.
Okay.
There's probably some on there that I don't know yet.
Scott McReynolds
is now joining.
We already have a quorum.
Right. I'd like to welcome everyone to the January Housing Policy Advisory Committee meeting. I wanted to start off the meeting by thanking Craig Brock for his years of service. Is Craig on the phone? I don't know. But he provided many years of service to us, so we thank him for his service. So we do have a quorum?
Yes, we do. And the
All
press
right.
has been notified of the meeting, Bev.
All right, thank you. I wanted to start the meeting first by welcoming Buddy Kittle. Buddy is here. He's a new representative from the mortgage banking industry, and he's replacing Daryl Overstreet. I must confess, Buddy, that I've lost your biography. So could you please just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I guess I can just make up my own biography really quick, right?
You know it better than anybody.
Well, I have to say that with Daryl's exit and you all welcoming me aboard, I have some very, very large shoes to fill. I know Daryl, and he is just a stellar gentleman, industry professional. So I hope that I can just live up to his standards and your all's as well. But I've been in the mortgage banking business for about 29 years now. I've been in various capacities, from loan officer to manager to regional manager to president of a mortgage lending operation for a bank. And currently I'm with Stockton Mortgage as a regional manager covering about 3 states. As far as other things that I've done, I've chaired the Realtors Association of Louisville, their affiliates committee. I've been on the board of directors for the Building and Home Builders Association in Louisville before for 2 years. Served as president for the Louisville Mortgage Bankers Association for 2 years, and also as state president for 2 years. Currently, I chair the legislative committee for the Mortgage Bankers Association of Kentucky, and and am on the educational committee as well. So that's a real brief overview of me and who I am. And like I said, I just hope that I can live up to Daryl's legacy.
Well, we're glad you're here and we welcome you. At this time, if we could, I know this is rough, but if we could just kind of go around and introduce, if everybody could say their name and who they're with, please.
Christina Espinosa-Bardem with the Human Development Institute at the University of Kentucky. We're the University Center on Disability.
David Allgood with the Center for Accessible Living in Louisville, Kentucky.
Lona Brewer, Kentucky Manufactured Housing Institute.
Lona Brewer, proxy for Secretary Rebecca Goodman of the Energy and Environment Cabinet.
Dave
Wilma Kelly.
Health Housing, Lewis County, Kentucky.
Wilma Kelly with Fayetteville Housing and Development Corporation.
Becky Rohrig, River City Housing, Chodo in Louisville, Kentucky, representing urban nonprofit.
This is Jason Dunn. I'm director of the Division of Family Support in the Department of Community-Based Services, Cabinet for Health and Family Services, here for the Secretary's Office. Thanks.
I'm Craig Potts, Director of the Kentucky Heritage Council.
Mary Crowley-Schmidt with the Bluegrass Area Development District Area Agency on Aging.
Anyone else?
Kathy Figel-Seller, Department for Local Government, proxy for Commissioner Dennis Keene.
Dean Loring, Kentucky Transportation Cabinet.
Waylon Isaac, Carpenter.
Who was that?
Waylon Isaacs with the Indiana Kentucky Ohio Regional Council of Carpenters.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning. It's Asha Keith Thurman, Field Office Director for the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development Field Office in Louisville, Kentucky.
Mike Turner with the Housing Authority of Burkesville.
David Rayleigh, Kentucky HUD Office.
Jill Block with iFoster.
Rob Jones with Audubon Area Community Services.
Anyone else?
I'll start the KHC introductions. Wendy Smith with Kentucky Housing Corporation.
Carla Hale, Kentucky Housing Corporation.
Kelly Reynolds. Winston Miller, Executive Director, Kentucky Housing Corporation. Kelly, go ahead. Kelly Reynolds. I work with Housing Contract Administration as a manager over single family.
We welcome everyone. My name is Bev Merrill. I am the newly elected chair. I have big shoes also to fill, and I represent homeless organizations. Carla, did we just have somebody else join us?
Phyllis just rejoined, and I will note that Adrienne Bush from HHCK in the chat noted that she is here, but her mic is wonky today.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
All right. Did we have any comments from the public, issues? Anyone who's not on the agenda, Carla?
No, there were none.
No. All right. Okay. So if someone could make a motion to approve the minutes of the October 26th meeting. I don't know if you need a minute to look over them, but.
I will.
And what's your name?
Phyllis Parker.
All right. And a second?
Christina Espinosa-Bard, second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, so the minutes are approved. We now have a presentation from Jim Patton on the intergenerational housing initiative.
You all should be able to share your screen now. I just stopped sharing.
Good morning, everyone. This is Jim Patton. I'm Commissioner with Serve Kentucky, and it's a pleasure to be here with you today. I believe our lead presenter today is Joe Bringardner, who is our Executive Director over Serve Kentucky. And so, Joe, if you're there, you'll take the lead, and I'll fall in line and shore you up.
Sure. Thanks, Jen. And of course, I'm trying to get this to load. And it's not. It's only a few slides. It's not a real in-depth power deck, but Carla, you may have to drop that in for me if I can't get it to load. Nothing.
I think I have it. Let me see if I can.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Winnie.
Pull that up for you.
Anyway, while we're waiting, let me just thank everybody for the opportunity. It's really great to have this chance to share with you all the cool stuff we're doing in AmeriCorps and talk a bit about some of our strategies and visions that we're having for the next several years. A little bit about AmeriCorps, if you don't know about us, we're sort of like a domestic Peace Corps. And we are housed in the Cabinet for Health and Family Services. We've been around about 25 years, but essentially it's an organization where Kentuckians have a chance to dedicate a year of their life to national service. The kind of work y'all do, I'm sure you're very familiar with Vistas and AmeriCorps, but I always have to throw this out there. We actually happen to have one of our longest serving programs that works directly with y'all, our Homes for All program that Caitlin Bottom runs. That's amazing. And that kind of work that they've been doing, they've been nationally recognized. They're just such a great model for what we can and should be doing with their goal of creating, finding, repairing, and maintaining housing for those that are experiencing homelessness or housing insecurity. So today we just wanted to get a chance to maybe talk a bit about who we are and an idea we have. Some of y'all might know a bit more about the intergenerational living model, but I do want to just share that with you. And I brought a couple of our partners on board, one of which being Jim, who will speak in just a moment. Jim is one of our commissioners. We are governed by a board of 25 commissioners that are appointed by the governor, and Jim is one of them. And he also happens to help lead a phenomenal organization that we do a lot of work with as well. And we have a guest on board, Sarita, who works with I Foster, and we're so proud to say that they'll be coming on board in our portfolio as well, doing tremendous work with foster youth aging out. Next slide. That's fine. That's pretty much some of the stuff I was just sort of talking about. I mean, the work that we do in AmeriCorps, it's quite vast. The scope is very, very large. The power behind the work that we do is that we create public and private partnerships with champions in those communities, and they onboard cores of their neighbors, their friends and neighbors, and they work all throughout the year and they address these social issues. So really proud of that work. What's cool about Kentucky is we've had the largest and fastest growing state commission in the country. When I came on board about 8 years ago, gosh, we had I think we had 6 programs working in about 40 counties. You can go to the next slide, please. And those 6 programs in 40 counties have exploded to what will soon be 25 programs, now working in most all of Kentucky counties. We still got a few bare spots there, but we're hoping to kind of get those tackled. You can see that if you see the house icon, that's Homes for All. That's our AmeriCorps program that we are so proud of, and you can see how they're scattered all across the state. So really great stuff that they're doing. So a bit more about us, really, before I sort of pass it on to Jim, who will be representing us as a commissioner. We're constantly striving to see new models and new ways that we can better serve people and address different social issues. And intergenerational living, it's something I keep reading about. A couple years ago, I read an article. They were talking about this being the Denmark model. This concept of college-age students living with seniors and the magic that created, and how it was such a win-win. And it just made me think, gosh, we've got a program that we work with the Christian Appalachian Project, where we provide housing, and that's allowed that program to really thrive in Appalachia, and it's allowed us to onboard a very diverse background of people that love to serve. Housing is one of the biggest issues, biggest barriers to people that would love to serve at AmeriCorps. And I know you guys hear that many times with many things, but what I love about the work that we do, we've come to discover that AmeriCorps is also a workforce development program. We've got just an astounding number of our members that move on into full-time employment after they serve a year or two in one of our corps. So that's something we're really proud of. And again, we know what is stopping so many people from the next step in life, and that's housing. So we're trying to explore different ways we can maybe look at intergenerational living, how we can bring that more to Kentucky. You might already be doing that, and so we'd love to talk about how we can partner, collaborate with you. Next slide. So with that said, I want to kick it over to Jim Patton, and Jim can tell you a bit about the commission, what he does as a commissioner, and a bit more here about his organization.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Well, thank you to all the good folks for all the great work that each of you do every day to provide good housing and safe housing, affordable housing for all those folks who call Kentucky home. My name again is Jim Patton. I'm the General Counsel as well as the Vice President for Advancement with the Broadhurst Group. We are the management company that's owned by Christian Care Communities. And we, with the slide there with our state map, we manage over 5,000, close to 6,000 grandmas and grandpas every day who reside in our communities in our 10 locations. We've been doing this since 1884, so about 138 years plus, so we don't think we're going anywhere. We enjoy doing what we do. Everything from independent living, assisted living, Alzheimer's, dementia cares, rehab, personal care, all of those different elements that create a life plan for a senior who needs somebody to come alongside them and perhaps their family members as well, and give them support that they need to enhance their journey of life. So it's been a real joy for me. My family, we've been either donors, volunteers, board members, or staff and executive leaders with Christian Care one way or another for about 45 years. So my family is just really invested in this mission. I base out of Louisville, but I visit all 10 of our locations and provide resident support. One of the beautiful things that I've seen over my years of service to this organization is that intergenerational care is something that I think Kentucky would benefit from. The residents who live with us in the service area that we're perhaps speaking about mostly today and in a little bit in the Appalachia, they're retired nurses and teachers and railroad workers, business owners, school principals, a variety of folks who have just this wealth of knowledge that come to live with Christian Care and a lot of vibrancy. And they have an opportunity and want to give back in their later years. And it's such a wealth pot to share. And so every time I either bring youth groups in or volunteers from AmeriCorps, there's just a vibrancy in the room. You just see all the wheels ticking and clicking, the grandparents and the maybe adoptive grandparents, for folks, the young people that don't have exposure to older adults. It's just a beautiful circle of life. And so as life would have it, I was fortunate that the governor put me on as a commissioner for AmeriCorps Vista and Serve Kentucky. And then I ran into this organization called I Foster, the Michael Eisner Foundation, Generations United, and I just got really excited about the opportunity. And so I started pulling people and resources and having discussions and asking, what would it look like for Kentucky to have a model of intergenerational care? And then when iFoster then came into the picture, it just really started to crystallize and make a little bit more sense, even because this age group of these youth that are in need of safe housing and life modeling successfully and education, it just seemed like there should be an opportunity. So I got a few people on the phone and we started scratching our heads, and lo and behold, here we are today talking to you about where we are in this journey, this discussion journey, and where it might make sense for some of you that are on this call today to get involved either with Christian Care, iFoster, and the great organization of AmeriCorps and Serve Kentucky. Corbin, Kentucky is one of our flagship locations. This is an area that's of interest. I know to iFoster, and it's always an area of interest of AmeriCorps and Serve Kentucky. And we just have an opportunity there with a beautiful campus that's located there on Master Street. We serve hundreds and hundreds of folks. We've been, of course, in the news with COVID and the nursing care that goes on there, and giving people good care, and just doing all the creative things that we could to get everybody through all this. But it has just turned out to be a flagship of ours, and we're just excited that we have the opportunity to move forward. The Broadhurst Group is something that I'm one of the 4 executives, and we provide the financial, the human resources, operations, advancement, and compliance functions. So we oversee each of our locations, and we make sure that they're good to go in Frankfurt and Washington, D.C. with all of the different programs, the veterans benefits and Medicare and Medicaid and any of the other private care or subsidized housing. We have subsidized housing through HUD in many of our locations, and have had since that program started, some of it in the early 60s and early 70s. So it's exciting to be part of this discussion today. We're honored that you would have us to come on your agenda. And I know that iFoster is coming on board as one of our partners, funding partners with AmeriCorps. And so I'll be happy to turn it over to iFoster, and I think Sarita's out there somewhere.
Hi, good afternoon. Actually, Sarita's not able to be with us today, but I'm Jill Block, also with iFoster.
Jill, thank you. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. I believe if you want to go to the next slide, I can talk a little bit just to give you a broad overview of iFoster. So we're a national nonprofit. We have been around for over 10 years. And really everything that we do is around providing resources, but also supports and information for young adults, largely in the child welfare system, but that can be currently or formerly in the system. As you know, they said that we are lucky enough to are being partnered with Serve Kentucky. Are you able to go to the next slide at all?
Which slide are you wanting? I'm now on your jobs program slide.
You can go to the Who is iFoster, if you have that one.
I'm on that now. Is it not showing up for you?
It's not showing up for me, but as long as other people can see it, that's fine. Great.
It is.
Oh, perfect. Fantastic. So, so far we have the largest network of child welfare, and that includes not only transition age youth themselves, so young adults 16 to 24, but also caregivers of young adults in the child welfare system and agencies. And so far to date, we've provided over $125 million worth of resources to those populations. If you want to go to the next slide where it says iFoster Peer Navigators. So in 2019, we launched a peer-to-peer model with AmeriCorps, where we hire transition age youth who are 18 and over. And it is a job training program where they get job skills. But the great thing is their service is actually connecting their peers who are currently in the child welfare system to resources. So we launched that first, as I said, in 2019 in California. We have, we won the best new AmeriCorps program, which we're really proud of in 2019. And in 2022, we're really excited to be replicating this program and expanding beyond just California into Washington, but also Kentucky. And that's what brings us here today. Excited to just be part of the conversation to see if there's an opportunity for this intergenerational housing. I mean, housing, as you can imagine, as I'm sure your own clients experience, child welfare can definitely lead to that pipeline of homelessness. And this not only couples, job training skills and opportunities to develop a career and educational pathway, but this could also be, the first stepping stone into providing them with some type of housing so they don't end up homeless as adults.
Thank you very much. Is there another presenter, or is that?
That's pretty much it. I mean, just a snapshot of who we are. We just wanted this opportunity to let you guys know what we're doing. And we're just planting seeds right now. This is a part of our strategic plan. And for the next several years, we're going to look at as many ways as possible. If we can get one foster youth in transition and get that one foster youth with a family, we've succeeded, as far as, or any young person with an older person, whatever that's going to look like. We're going to keep plugging at this. If you've got any resources in that arena, or if you work in this area and are interested more in helping us out, let us know, and we'll take it from there.
Is now exiting.
Absolutely. And I know in the homeless system, we ask young people if they've come up through the foster care system. So I think, it might be to work with the Housing and Homeless Coalition. Well, you're part of the Housing and Homeless Coalition, aren't you? So, yeah, that's a natural link, I think, where a lot of young people do need services. Are there any other questions or comments?
This is
All right,
Jason. Well, I'm sorry. Sure. Since I work for the Department for Community-Based Services, but not necessarily in the child protection and foster care system, are there connections built with our cabinet and the kids who are emancipating out into adulthood, emancipating out of the system? Are there connections built there?
Jason, that's actually underway. We've been discussing that since really ever since I've been on board. This is 3 administrations now.
Sure.
Sure. You've been there too.
Yeah.
So yeah. I know that iFoster does work with DCBS quite well and a few other agencies. So yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Just making sure that connection's there. Thanks.
There's no way Commissioner Miranda would not let me be a part of this with her.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, and just to add to that, so we actually, Aetna partnered with us as they took over Medicaid management in Kentucky for youth and care, and we're currently providing technology, tablets and laptops to every youth in DCBS in DJJ custody, ages 13 and over. But it's also as a pathway for them to get to know about iFoster and to become members and access all the other resources that we can provide them with.
Well, I'll, if I can, I think one of the opportunities here is having seniors on site in good, affordable housing in Corbin, and maybe being able to at some point offer housing to youth through iFoster, and combining those on site. That'll help the youth, and that'll also help the grandmas and the grandpas. So that wisdom sharing plus job skills, life skills, parenting skills, they can work at Christian Care, our health centers, and in our independent and assisted and rehab nursing units, get healthcare careers interest started, do internships, fellowships at Christian Care, and live next door and have that full circle experience. So it's pretty exciting. We've seen some good models out there. I know there's a model that's about a year old that is in Washington, D.C., and there's several other models that I know iFoster and the Eisner Foundation are familiar with. So it's an exciting time to look under every rock and try to find the right solution for all the foster kids in Kentucky that need this resource.
All right. Well, thank you very much for taking time to join our committee meeting. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks,
you.
everyone. Appreciate it.
Next, we have a weatherization program update from Kelly Reynolds.
This will be short and sweet. There's not a lot. Sometimes we just maintain, and that's really actually a good thing when we just get to flow and not ebb. But I do have a few little things. We are currently doing an application. We've opened up an application just for our weatherization subgrantees. This is the first time we've ever done this. But it is really to make sure that our formula is within lines of what their capacity and their agencies are to produce jobs and for funding reasons. So we've opened up a little mini application for them. It's very short, but really for them to tell us what money they need in order to do the weatherization program. We haven't ever asked that question to them before. We just give them money and then hope that they can have the capacity and the staffing to produce units. So we're trying to just maybe look at the money a little bit differently. And we are also asking them questions, for example, what they could do with weatherization ready money, what they could do if we had money for solar energy, because we know that more money is coming down to us from DOE or possible grants that we could apply for. And we just want to see where our network is and what they have capacity to do or interest in doing. So that's another reason for the application. We also submitted a concept paper last week to DOE for weatherization ready funding. We will see if they give us a thumbs up to move on with the application. And weatherization ready, just to kind of let you know, it's to work on our deferrals or focus on our deferrals. So when a job is deferred for reasons, for example, they have a hole in the roof and they need the roof fixed. Right now we have some LIHEAP dollars to do that, but the DOE is offering a grant to help us with those repairs as well. So we could turn that deferral job into a viable weatherization job so we could get a weatherization completion out of it. So that's what that concept paper is about. I do know, Jason might know more information on this, there is some proposed legislation for LIHEAP weatherization funds to increase admin from 10% to 15%. And then they have some draft language in to help with a cooling program with the LIHEAP weatherization funds, which we actually have been working on at KHC with some of our weatherization partners to draft an idea of how to use LIHEAP money for a cooling program. So I think that those changes in legislation would work to our advantage. So I'll keep you posted on those. The Cabinet for Health and Family Services submitted a change in their LIHEAP weatherization plan for us to reduce our SIRs, which is savings investment ratios, from a 0.8 to a 0.6. We are waiting to hear if that will be approved, but that's going to help our agencies, one, use more money, but two, address material cost and labor cost increases that are now excluding certain measures that we could fund last year. So that's going to help them with that problem that we're facing. We also will begin in the next month or so working on our Department of Energy state plan. That will be due the first week of May, so it usually takes us a good 2 months to put it together. It is quite lengthy. This year, we do know there will be 2 changes. One, we actually have to address disasters. So due to the recent tornadoes in December, we realized that our weatherization state plan said, because we had never dealt with this before, we will draft disaster language when we have that problem. Well, now we have that problem, so we will be figuring out how we need to best draft language just to make the weatherization program a little bit more useful in a disaster arena. But I've got some language from Wisconsin to help guide us in that. And then we also, this is a new requirement, part of the Biden administration Justice 40 requirements, where they started with the Department of Energy to focus on injustices in social programs. We also have to come up with language of how we're going to track serving the underserved and promoting diversity and workforce development. So I have a meeting at 4:00 with the Undersecretary of the Department of Energy as part of this NASCAS board, where we're going to ask her some very specific questions around that language and what we're supposed to be putting in the plans. But more to come on that. That's all.
All right, thank you very much, Kelly. Next up is Wendy with an overview of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Committee meeting.
Thanks, Bev. So the AHTF Advisory Committee met earlier today, and we typically only meet twice a year, and we typically share with you all the financials that we are mandated by legislation to report to that committee, just so you've got a read on where the state Affordable Housing Trust Fund is. So this is a quarter by quarter accounting of the funds that have come from county clerks via recording fees. When property transfers happen, they go to the Commonwealth, and then from the Commonwealth to Kentucky Housing Corporation. So you can see that in Q4 of fiscal year 20, we got $20 that quarter, but we have rebounded nicely since then. And so while that was worrisome, it was related to the pandemic and so many county offices being closed to the public and transfers just not happening or not getting recorded. But we are seeing a nice rebound, and we're kind of up to a state, we don't know how long it'll last, but 1.5 million per quarter coming in to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. So what that translates to at KHC is, as of the end of last year, 2021, we had a cash balance of Affordable Housing Trust Fund dollars of $15.4 million. We had outstanding commitments of $3.6 million, leaving us a funds available and uncommitted balance of $1.8 million. We're pretty happy with where this is. We have, for the last year or more, been practicing what we call forward committing, meaning we get a pipeline of projects and grantees to whom we have committed dollars going in anticipation that it takes time for us to make those decisions, get the grant agreements out, and for them to even set up projects that are going to draw down the funds. So we don't want grantees waiting on us. We would rather have everything ready and then the funds flow in. Now that one quarter made us nervous when we got $20, but it's worked out okay so far. And KHC has the wherewithal to fill in gaps if we do have to wait on some dollars. But we're very pleased with doing the forward committee with HTF. That has seemed to help the pace of funds being available and hopefully keeping partners from waiting on us for a grant agreement and a pipeline of funds. And so where we are for fiscal year 22 is that we have allocated $6.8 million in HTF across a number of uses. Now, we actually anticipate we may have more available depending on if this 1.5 million continues, but we've been conservative in our allocation plan. But with Affordable Housing Trust Fund dollars, we've committed $1.5 million to single-family home ownership production, meaning building new houses, like with Habitats or other nonprofits, $1.5 million to home repair, and then $3.8 million to the production of multifamily rental. That could be a duplex, that could be a 50-unit project. It really ranges. In terms of how much between Affordable Housing Trust Fund and the HUD Home Program that we have allocated for single-family home building or single-family home repair, that adds up to $7 million for fiscal year 22. So it mirrors last year's commitment, a little lower than FY20. And again, we would expect it to go past 7 million, but that just is hinging on making sure the HTF revenue stays at a higher level than it had been. That's all I have. I'll pause there in case anybody wants to ask an HTF question.
Nobody? All right. Wendy, the KHC update.
Yeah, we just, for the last 2 years now, been letting you all know what we're doing with relation to COVID relief. And because that's not enough, we now have got some tornado work on our hands. So we thought we would just let you all know, kind of a general update of where things stand with those programs we've been sharing with you. And then the tornado is new since we last met. So I'll start with the Healthy at Home eviction relief. This is our rent and utility assistance for tenants across 118 counties, everywhere but Fayette and Jefferson County. So as of last Friday, we have paid out $102 million, $102.5 million since February of this year. We've never done anything like that. I want to toot KHC's horn. It's not me, it's my staff and tons of people who have made this happen. That is, we don't pay direct assistance typically, so that was new for us. And then to get this volume of assistance out, 99.5% of it has gone directly to landlords and utilities. A small percentage has gone directly to tenants. If their landlord won't participate or doesn't respond after we try to contact them 3 times, we pay the tenant directly, as allowed, as kind of required almost by Treasury. We have paid out over 30,000 individual payments on behalf of just over 21,500 households across the Commonwealth. And the average assistance per household right now is just over $4,800. Again, that's rent and utilities. So when you look at our total work on this grant, we got $264 million from Treasury. We have subgranted $38.7 million to Louisville and Lexington to keep their local programs going. They got money straight from Treasury, but they didn't get enough. So we have supplemented their own grants with some of our money that we sent to them. Again, we paid out $102.5 million. We've used $8.7 in admin here at KHC. So when you add that all together, that's roughly $150 million that has been committed out of those funds. So 57% of the grant in basically 10 months. So we're really proud of that, but we still have $100 million left. We do not expect to run out of funds. And we have another tranche of this kind of funding coming from Treasury. We anticipate doing something like this eviction relief through September of 2025. And we are currently staffing up a team to work in courtrooms where the eviction dockets have the highest number of cases, so that we can offer assistance right at the point where the landlord and or the tenant are showing up in court. Because if money is the problem, we can fix that. We can't fix all the housing issues, like availability of supply, but if money is the issue to keep someone housed, we actually have a fix for that. And I will share with you, KHC ranks 27th in the country, not KHC, Kentucky ranks 27th in the country in terms of the percentage of spend down of these funds. We're really proud of that spot in the middle. I know it's just the middle, but we're a small state with low housing costs. So we're working hard for each household assisted versus some states might be spending $30,000 per tenant, where we're spending less than $5,000 per tenant, just because housing costs are lower here. That's just the same ranking graphically shown. What's really important to point out, and I might have shared this at our last meeting, but is that the data we received from the Administrative Office of the Courts shows at least there is a correlation between this assistance and eviction cases going down and being lower than pre-pandemic case rates. So the blue line is 2019, before the pandemic. The orange line, 2020, during the pandemic. You see it flatlined when all the courts just closed and there was a moratorium. And then you can see later in 2020, landlords figured out, well, they were still allowed to evict, just not for non-payment of rent. They could evict for breach of lease. They could evict because the lease was expired. So evictions did start to go back up in 2020, but even through most of 2021, evictions, when the moratorium went away, did not rebound to 2019 levels. Now, I can't say that for sure this is just because of the funding that we, Louisville and Lexington, have been getting out, but I gotta think that $100 million, has an impact on whether or not people stay housed and whether or not landlords are getting paid and utilities are getting paid. So I see this as just really good news for housing stability. And really in Kentucky and across the country, we have not seen the tsunami of evictions that we worried about. And that is largely because rent got paid for. Landlords got made whole and utilities got paid and a lot of organizations stepped up to get that assistance out. So rah, that's really a good thing. Any questions on that? I'm going to move on to another COVID program, unless y'all want to ask about healthy at home eviction relief.
I really just, hats off to KHC. I think it was a monumental task. I know it was overwhelming. And, I think the organization did a fabulous job. And I think the statistics bear it out.
And I want to thank Wendy for sitting down and meeting with me about the issues or some of the things that I wanted to talk about. I do have one question. One, it might be not a stupid question, but where would a person go if they fall in between the cracks in Louisville? Say if they needed assistance and didn't get it in terms of the utility assistance or the housing.
So Phyllis, can I run down an answer on that and email you? I just don't know because we're not operating in Louisville. Most of our programs don't, but I could probably get an answer for you.
Okay, that would be great because we're operating a program and we're having some folks falling through the cracks and some are being told that, hey, this is not a COVID related issue because you've got cancer. We can't give you the money because you're being evicted. But
there are a lot of resources right now. I would hope we could find something. It sounds like that's what you're after too.
Yes. So that's what I would like to know is who could we kind of intervene with to get information in Louisville?
You want me to move on, Bev? There are a couple other programs I want to touch on.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Yes.
So we will be launching next month a assistance program for homeowners who got behind on their mortgages, insurance, and taxes during the pandemic. This won't flow as fast as the rental assistance. There's a lot more rules involved, and you got involved a bank and a loan servicer and all that kind of stuff. But we have $85 million to help homeowners across 120 counties. So this will be statewide. We have a sign up link. I've shared that before, but I just wanted to let you all know we got approval from Treasury at the end of December for our plan. We're doing a pilot right now with some of our own borrowers to work the kinks out, and then we intend to open it publicly next month. So if you know a homeowner who might be in trouble right now, let's make sure they know about it. Okay, and then we also have, Bev, did you want to ask something?
No,
okay. We also have a bucket of funding through the American Rescue Plan Act, which was one-time special HUD home funding to create housing for people experiencing homelessness. It's primarily geared toward developing some kind of rental housing or non-congregate shelter. We can spend a little bit of the dollars on services, and we could use it for rent assistance also. But I'll tell you, we've got lots of money for rent assistance. We really need units. We just, everywhere across the state, we need more units that are affordable to our lowest income or no income households, and ideally with some services attached to them so that those folks can stay housed. So we were the first state to submit our home ARP allocation plan to HUD. We have heard it's been approved, but we haven't gotten that in writing, so we don't have access to the funds yet. This involves multiple departments at KHC, and we intend to use these dollars alongside other funds that we have to get large scale, hopefully, housing developed, but also small scale, duplexes, triplexes, quadplexes in some of our rural areas where, they're not going to do 50 units of housing for the homeless, but they need some. And I do want to let you all know, we just put out a invitation for development teams to participate in what we're calling the Supportive Housing Institute. A national technical assistance provider, the Corporation for Supportive Housing, has been engaged by KHC. They've been working with us on this new home money to create housing for the homeless, because it's not something we have done enough of, and we aren't sure we know what we're doing. So we brought them in. They're going to be offering a 5-month institute where a development team, which would typically be a developer, a nonprofit, and a property management company, would participate 1 day a month for 5 months, and they will help put together a project, the financials, the service plan, the thinking about the legal structure, the partnership structure, so that the applications they put in for KHC funding or other funding would be really strong, and that those projects would be likely to be sustainable over time. We don't want anyone to do a project without really vetting it and making sure it's going to work for them as a service provider, as an owner, all of that. So those are due. The applications to participate in that institute are due February 10th. And then I'll just move on. So we are playing a role with tornado response. We and DLG, Department for Local Government, are named as co-leads of the Kentucky Disaster Housing Task Force. We have been meeting weekly with FEMA and Kentucky Emergency Management, and just began meeting with the Red Cross. We've talked with a lot of our partners. We've reached out to our homelessness providers in Western Kentucky to see, do they have enough funding to rapidly rehouse folks if they are approached? And all but one, we reached out to 4, all but one have sufficient funding. We are working on shifting some dollars to the one that thinks they're going to run low. We're still kind of working to figure out our role, but what we've done in the meantime is build an inventory of available units. So we've got a web page, and from that, property owners can let us know if they have available units. It's a really simple form. And we have built this interactive map where Red Cross or individuals, emergency managers, whoever, can click on a county and get a listing of units. It has a couple tabs. So one tab has by state, county, and then 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, so you can look it up. Then we also have the overall. So we've identified a little over 500 units, roughly west of I-65. Some people are going to have to move. There's just not going to be a place for them to live in the county they called home. There are some trailers being moved to Western Kentucky, but the last count I heard was 200, but I've heard 2,000 housing units have been lost. So there are going to be a lot of folks. So we built this inventory because if they have a family member in another county, they might be willing to, relocate. So we wanted folks to at least have a roster. These are properties that we have funded, but they're also just privately owned properties that might not have any, special subsidy dollars in them. And I have just a list of a bunch of different web links, because we'll send this to you all, so in case you wanted any of these links to any of the stuff that we shared. And that's all I've got, Beth.
All right, thank you, Wendy. Are there any questions for her? All right.
Hey, this is Logan Haynes. I'm with the Kentucky
Sure.
I'm with the Kentucky Manufactured Housing Institute. I just wanted to point out one more resource. We have created a disaster relief fund for individuals that either live or lived in a manufactured home. It's up to $1,000, and that's good for insurance deductible. It's good for if they had no insurance and need repairs, and it's also good for the down payment of another manufactured home.
How can we learn more about, is there a website, Logan?
There is. If you go to our website, which is kmhi.org.
Great.
It's on the front page.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
All right. Next, I have an informational announcement. Some of you may be familiar with the K count, which is across the United States, HUD oversees a count of persons who are homeless. Every year, it's usually done on the last Wednesday in January, but because of COVID going back up, they postponed it to the last Wednesday of February. So if you're interested in being involved in that count, usually it's homeless providers who do that, and sometimes with other community members, you could let me know and I could get you some local information on that. Any other announcements? All right, any suggestions for agenda topics for our April meeting? If you think of any, let me or Wendy or Carla know. The meeting is April 26th. We're not certain if it will be another telemeeting or if we'll be in person at that time. So we'll keep an eye on things and we'll be back in touch. So thank you everyone for your time and attending. And do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Jason.
All right.
David Allgood, I'll second.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And we'll see everybody in the springtime. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.